THICC Anime Girl tutorial. Today we're just going to be looking at the same character we drew before, but from the back. I had a little bit of a mishap with my microphone, so I already have the circle drawn. So just go ahead, quick draw yourself a little circle, and we will continue from there. So, after you've drawn your circle, we're just going to add in our ruler here for our center line. We will construct our character around it. I actually don't like the thickness of that, so I'm just gonna redo. There we go. Alright, next I'm giving this character sort of a thinner jawline, still keeping it a little bit rounded so it still looks a little feminine. Just put it in like so. It's actually a little too long. This. Put in our ears. Alright, next we want to drop in our shoulder line just below the chin here. And we will put in our ribs. Try not to keep them, or try not to let them get any wider than our head. Put in our shoulder blades there. I'm going to put in some small shoulder circles just inside of the ribs. And then following this wide portion of our rib, just add lines like so, giving her kind of a nice V taper here. Even more exaggerated than that. Next, we want to drop in our hip line. I guess I need to keep it slightly even with my previous character, so I'm just gonna make this a little bit larger here. Then I can drop in my hip line, roughly the same area, basically head height below the base of our ribs here. And I am going to put the hips at shoulder width apart, make a little mark down here so I can attach these lines. And I can see that this side's a little bit longer. I'll just sink it in a little. Like that. Then we'll bring our hips up, kind of giving them a tiny little poke, a little point here at the edge, but nothing crazy. And we will adjust these as we go, so it does not have to be perfect during the construction line portion. From there, I'm just going to mark out our unmovable hip area, like so. So everything in here is not going to move, it's all the hips. Going to readjust my lines here. It's because I want her to be a little bit thinner. There we go. From there, just gonna attach the hips to the back here with some little love handles. I'm using this shape. You can kind of use whatever shape fits your character's weight best. Next, I will go ahead and drop in the legs. So I'll put little sockets here, kind of bring the legs together for a sort of classic anime girl pose. Next, I'm going to sort of figure out the height of everything here. So I'm going to mark out a little section for the feet. You need to be a little bit bigger, like so. Then at the halfway point, I'll put in some ovals for my knees. And once you kind of can see whether or not that is proportionally what you want, then I'll go ahead, put in some rounded triangles for the heels. Then we can come up here to the thighs. So I'm going to bring them in, back out, before tucking them back in. Alright, so in, out, back in. And I'm going to do the same over here. Like so. And for the thighs, I'm just going to keep them at their widest, nearest the top. It can be the top or like the kind of middle portion. There we go. This thigh's kind of ending up too big. I think this is a little bit better. And again, we're just trying to sketch out a shape that you like. Doesn't have to be perfect on your first attempt here, so you can kind of adjust and readjust as you want to, and use lots of little lines if you need to. That way you can kind of just sketch out the overall shape that you're looking for, and just find a shape you like. From there, we want to add in our calves, which the inner calf and outside calf here will be visible since we're looking at her from behind. So we're just going to add our little calf bulges down into the legs, like so. And again, the knee socket here is kind of shaped like this before it goes up into the thighs and into the calves, right? So kind of just keep that overall shape in mind while you are doing that. Next, I'm going to add in the neck, traps, giving her pretty small traps, and I'll just erase out the jawline there. Alright. Then we will put in our arms, like so. We will drop in the sort of upper part of the arm, connecting to the elbow first, since our forearms are going to be behind them. Then we can connect the forearms like so. Something like that. And we want the hands to basically be even with the shoulders here. I'm just going to put little mitten looking shapes, like so. And this arm on the right is coming out a little bit further, which isn't the end of the world, but we'll try to keep it a little bit more symmetrical here. And don't forget, right here, this little section, make sure you add your slightly bent line, like so. That way it kind of insinuates that there's a curve there. And then next, I'm just going to throw in my little chest lines here. She's got large breasts, so it's going to be slightly visible from behind the elbows. And finally, the glutes. So again, we're going to keep it a little bit flat at the top, and then really tuck it in at the bottom. Do the same over here. And then add in a little line, like so. And this time for our THICC character, we're not going to fully from the back here see the hips just straight into the quads there. We're actually going to see a little bit of a bump from the sides of the glutes. So I'm going to come, so right here where the middle section kind of ends is roughly even with where I'm going to drop in the outer lines of my glutes. And I don't want them to be super exaggerated, but exaggerated enough to where they definitely poke out and kind of break up the shape of just the quads linking up with the hips. So basically like that. So now we can just do our line art. I'm just doing a figure study, so I'm really not concerned about the quality of my line art, nor its color, so do whatever you need to do to fit your needs. If you're just doing figure studies for practice, then you don't have to take this part super seriously. You just are trying to get the balance and symmetry of your character to kind of fit your needs, as well as just like the overall shapes. Because then you can be focused on practicing your line art later. Of course, if you're using this as sort of a guide or helping you get a pose on one of your fan arts or something, then you're going to want to be using good line art, good line weight and such. This. So I'm basically just tracing all of the shapes that we established in the construction portion. So then I'm going to, this time around, since the glutes are actually over the hips here, I'm going to start from our glute line, like so. And I'm just going to exaggerate the bump out to the actual thigh portion. Then my glute, like so. Add this slightly bent line. Could even add in some little lines for back muscles. Then I'm going to add my hip bumps here. A little bit sharper than I wanted, so I'm just gonna soften those slightly. Like so. This one's a little high. There, then I'm just gonna connect with the love handles. Like so. From there we can add our inner thigh. But since she's got pretty large glutes, our inner thighs, you're not going to see this part where it comes in to out. So it's just going to be kind of popping out like this. We'll tidy this up a little bit. Actually, I need to slightly fix this thigh. There we go. Next, I just add the outline sort of around the pit of the hip, or the knee here, along with my little tendon lines. And we will drop in the calves, like so. And again, I'm not just bumping them out from the thigh, I'm doing this shape, so it kind of blends with it a little bit better. It makes a much smoother sort of edge there, because to make the softer we want our characters to look, the more you kind of need to blend your lines together, so that way, instead of just popping out for just a really quick change in shape, you sort of just blend it out a little bit better. That way it keeps them looking a little bit soft. And there we go. So that is drawing the sort of tropey, thick anime character from the back. And in the next one, we're going to show the same character, but from the side, which is where we can really exaggerate the sort of curves and edges, so you can just kind of see just overall shape of the character and weight. So hopefully you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next one.